Hello, Year 7, and welcome to Week 1 lesson for the eye. Okay, so today we're going to walk through how the eye works. Because obviously, we're looking at light, so it makes sense that we look at the eye. Because the eye is what needs light. So, title, the camera. So we're going to explain how the eye works, and then we're also hopefully going to be able to describe how a simple camera forms an image. So my question to you is, what does an eye and a camera have in common? Not sure? Well, let's have a look. So, the way the eye works. We see objects because light is reflected from them to our eye, as you can see in the diagram on the bottom. The light's coming off that light bulb, it is reflecting off the battery and then to our eye, and that is why we can see the battery. So the light from the luminous object, such as stars or lamps, may enter our eyes directly, or objects that don't make their own light are called non-luminous, which we learnt last lesson. But we can still see them because if light from a luminous object reflects or scatters off them, it then enters our eye. So that's the diagram showing a luminous object, the bulb, and a non-luminous object, the battery, and why we can see both of them. We can't see a non-luminous object without light from a luminous object. Open your eyes in a pitch black room without any luminous object, and can you see anything? No, you can't. So, how do we see things? Light is refracted as it passes through the lens in our eyes. So our eyes are equipped with these really interesting lenses. They're called convex lenses. So what they do is they focus the light and enable us to see. So the point where the ray crosses is called the focus or the focal point. So our convex lens, as you can see in an example experiment, and then the focus or focal point. So the left is a diagram of our actual eye, and then the bottom is the focal point, where all those bits of light meet. So, pause the video, draw that diagram, and can you label, first for me, the convex lens and the focal point? Should be able to do that from about 2 seconds ago. So pause the video and draw that diagram for me and label the two arrows. Okay, we've got our incident ray, our reflected rays, our focal point, our focal length, which is a new word for you, and our convex lens. Now our focal length is the length it takes for that light to reach the focal point. So it's from the center of the lens to the focal point. That is our focal length. So we can learn a bit more about that later. So what I want you to try and do is do a matching activity. So there is a worksheet on Show My Homework. Can you download that, either print it out or do it on the Word document and then save it? Can you try and match them up? So there's 3 things you need to match up. You need to match up the image from the left, so the numbers on the image, to what they're actually called in the center, to then their role on the right. So pause the video, jump on to Show My Homework, download that worksheet, and have a go at this matching activity. Then, once you've had a go, or if you get stuck and can't do any more, unpause this video and then have a look at the answers. So, pause the video now, have a go, and then I'll talk to you in a second or a few minutes when you've done the activity. So, hopefully you've managed to do the activity. We are now going to jump on and look at the answers. So, number 1, the center of our eye is called a cornea. and it is the transparent outer part of your eye. Number 2 is the pupil. So the pupil changes size to adjust the amount of light. You can actually check this because if you look at a light and then look in the mirror where it's a bit darker, you will notice your pupil change size. Number 3 is the sclera, which is the hard structure forming the outside of your eye. 4 is the iris, which is a muscle that controls the size of the pupil. So it's what's changing your pupil. 5 is the lens, which focuses the light entering the eye. 6 is the retina, which is the photosensitive layer of the cells at the back of the eye. And 7 is the optic nerve, which then sends that electrical impulse from the eye to the brain so that you actually know what you're looking at. If you didn't get those right, pause the video now and correct your answers. If you did get them right, then continue on with the video with me. So, that's a picture of our eye. That's a picture of the light hitting the front of our eye, or the lens, the convex lens. So can you point to the focal point? Can you tell me what the rays will look like, what the 2 rays will look like? If you drew them like that and you picked that focal point, you are correct. So well done. That is the focal point. So there is another worksheet on Show My Homework. Can you pause the video now and do the attached worksheet? Can you see if you can do it without looking at the previous worksheet or the video? If you're stuck, then have a look at the previous worksheet. And then if you're still stuck, go back through and have a look at the previous parts of this video and see if you can find the answers. So pause the video now, have a go at that worksheet, and then once you're done, unpause the video and we will continue. So, if you're a bit grossed out by this picture, feel free to change the slide. If you're not, then what you're looking at is a cross-section of a sheep's eyeball. So this is a sheep's eye that has been dissected or cut in half. It allows us to see all the different parts of the eye, because a sheep's eye is very similar to a human eye. It's got a cornea, it's got an iris, a lens, a sclera, a retina, okay? It's got everything. So have a look at that. If you really want to have another look, jump on YouTube. There's lots of videos of sheep eyeball dissections that you can have a look at. So, what is actually happening? So the light passes through the structures of the eye and reaches the retina. That's the layer of photoreceptors. These are the cells that are sensitive to the light. These are the cells that are reading the information. Okay? And there's 2 types of photoreceptors, rods and cones, because we see different levels of light and different levels of color. So the rods, as you can see in the diagram above, they're sensitive to movement and dim light. So they're the things that receive the message and pass on the message of movement and also of dim light. And then cones are the photoreceptors that are sensitive to color and bright light. So when light reaches the photoreceptors, the chemical reaction produces that electrical impulse. And then that impulse travels to the brain to form the picture. So, how does a pinhole camera similar to the eye? Jumping right back to that starter question at the start of the lesson, we were looking at how a pinhole camera is similar to the eye. Well, a camera produces an image exactly like your eye. It's one of the simplest cameras, a pinhole camera. Okay, the light enters a pinhole just like it does to your pupil, and then an image is formed at the screen, just like it is on your retina. You're actually going to get a chance next week in lesson 1 to make a pinhole camera. I'll go into a lot more detail in that lesson on how to make a pinhole camera. So, to record the image, the digital camera uses a grid of photosensitive elements, or pixels. So, when your camera talks about megapixels, they're talking about thousands of pixels. So thousands of tiny little, if not millions of tiny little, photosensitive elements that record different colors, and then you put those all together and you get a picture. So that's how a pinhole camera and an eye are